You're listening to Plants and Politics with Gina Bonanno-Lemos. If you're ready to hear the truth about both sides of the aisle, what's really going on in America, and how big money interests prevent change to keep you sick, broke, and desperate, then play on. Hey everyone, this is Gina with Plants and Politics. I am coming to you today to talk about a new bill that was just introduced into Congress by Libertarian Justin Amash and Democrat Ayanna Pressley. It's a bill that is long overdue. It's something I talked about recently on the podcast about qualified immunity. So if you're not familiar with qualified immunity, I'll give you a quick snapshot. You can go back and listen to my other podcast about how cops literally get away with murder. But essentially, that's what the qualified immunity law does. It allows public servants, people who are basically employed by us, we the people, to get away with crimes. I don't believe that's what it was intended to do, but that's essentially what has occurred. So it basically gives them a pass if they committed a crime or if they violated someone's constitutional rights while on duty or in the course of their job duties. They can get this qualified immunity and walk. They just walk. They have no consequences for their actions. There's some rules around how you can still take them to court and win, but there's a very, very narrow window that you have to fit through to make that happen. So again, go back and listen to my other podcast to hear more of the details. But this new bill that has been introduced, it essentially would make it easier to sue police and other government officials if they violate anyone's civil rights. So this is a good thing. This bill is a good thing. There's something that I don't necessarily agree with, so I would have to look into it further to understand what their reasoning is. But again, this would allow police to be sued and face consequences for violating someone's civil rights. The thing I don't agree on, and again, I need to understand their reasoning because it doesn't spell it out in the bill, at least not the one sheet that I read. I don't know if there's more details, but it also allows police to be sued for enforcing a law if the law is subsequently changed. That I don't necessarily agree with, because how can you look into the future? If you are a police officer, your job is to enforce the law. So if that's the law at the time, I don't understand how you can in the future be sued for enforcing the law in the past. So qualified immunity is something that both liberal and conservative Supreme Court judges have expressed concerns about. Both Supreme Court Judge Sotomayor and also Clarence Thomas have both expressed their concerns about how this law, this qualified immunity law, has been misused in ways that are dangerous. However, they haven't moved to strike them down or change them. In fact, it came before the Supreme Court recently and they refused to look at it. So we're going to have to get the lawmakers to move on this if we really want change. And in my opinion, this is one of the number one ways that we can combat what we're seeing in regards to police brutality. Because once you make it abundantly clear and put into place rules and laws that show these quote unquote bad apples that they're not going to get away with murder anymore, they're not going to want to work in policing. Because in my opinion, I think a lot of them get into policing because they have anger issues. They want to be able to control people. I don't think that it's a matter of, oh, you become a cop and then you become this aggressive, violent sociopath. I think you already have those tendencies. I think this is, becoming a cop is a way of being able to express those feelings, being able to act on those feelings and, sociopathic tendencies with impunity. So, for anyone who supports the death penalty or believes that strict laws act as deterrents for illegal behavior, they should be on board with this. They should be on board with striking down qualified immunity. And if they're not, then they're hypocrites, because this is ending this qualified immunity law basically puts cops on notice. It lets them know there are consequences for your actions. And so if you're going to behave in a way that's illegal and violate someone's constitutional rights, you will face consequences. So this will serve to root out the people who shouldn't be wearing that uniform to begin with. Because let's be clear, qualified immunity, basically, as it stands today, is more important than the Constitution. It basically, the way it's being treated and under the guidelines as they stand and the way that courts are viewing these cases and allowing these police to walk, they're saying that this qualified immunity law is more important than the constitutional rights of citizens. And that cannot be allowed to stand. So we need to put cops on notice. We need to see which ones are willing to step up and still take on the job, even though they can't kill people with impunity, and they'll weed themselves out. So to sum it all up, we need to end qualified immunity. And right now, I actually looked, I was going to create a petition, but there's already one out there that's gained some really great traction. When I looked at it today and I signed it, it already had over 120,000 signatures. So I would suggest that people just get on board with that one rather than reinventing the wheel and starting from scratch. So I am going to drop a link in the description box so that you guys can sign this petition and share it. It is, in my opinion, one of the number one ways that we're going to end this brutality that we're seeing across the nation. And it'll prevent what we're seeing with so many of these cops, where they just jump from police station to police station, from department to department, even with bad actions of illegal actions and violence trailing behind them. I think that we should also make it possible, and I think it should have been included in this bill, and this is my final thought on this, that if police officers have complaints against them and they are not taken to court, if they are not looked at seriously, especially if it is a case or allegations of violence and racism, if they are not taken seriously and legitimately investigated and action taken against these officers, I think that the police department should have to face some sort of consequences. And I don't know how you do that, if it's their direct supervisors also face consequences, if the police department has some sort of action taken against them. I don't know exactly what kind of punitive measures you put in place, but until we start holding everyone accountable, no one's going to be accountable. Until we start saying, you are not going to get away with it personally, but the people who enable you are also not going to get away with it, we're going to continue to have issues. So it needs to be police officers putting pressure on their fellow officers. Just my opinion, but I think I'm right. So anyway, guys, hope this has been informative. As always, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to Plants and Politics. The only way we can take our country and power back is to spread the truth and build an army. So remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again.